look at this page, this is my geometry page that I set up. What we're gonna go ahead and do is kind of look at it. On your page, it will look a little bit different than mine does, but on the materials page, you'll see a folder. You won't see this one. You'll see this folder called Assignments During School Closure. Inside that folder, you'll find everything you need throughout this time that the school is closed. You'll find the 10-day packet if you completed it, and then you will find work for each session. So for example, for today's session, it'll be the same as tomorrow's because of the new schedule. This is the new folder. You click on this folder and it'll give you a do now, the lesson, which is what we're doing right now. This is what we're part of right now. And then it'll give you the exit ticket. This is supposed to be similar to what we do in class, where we have a do now and we have our lesson and then we have our exit ticket. Each do now and exit ticket will only be 2 questions. So it should take you about 5 minutes, no more than 10 minutes. So it should be really quick. But the do now should be done before class. So for example, today's do now should have been done before the lesson, but obviously you didn't know that, so you can do it after. But for the next lessons, try to do the do nows before class. And then after class, you are expected to complete this exit ticket. There will also be homework every week, but again, everything I'm saying you can find in these folders. So you'll see for this week, we have work for this date, we have work for the next session, and then there's a homework assignment that you would complete. And once you click on them, you'll be able to submit them. And anything that you do, you can retake it as many number of times as you want. So if you don't like your score the first time around, you can take it again. And I'll give you your highest grade, the highest grade possible. So that's where you find your materials. The other thing you must be aware of is this update right here. This is going to change, especially because our schedule is changing, but this is where you will find when you have class, and you'll find the Zoom link. So you click on that to get you to where we are right now. And then the last thing you need to know on the Schoology page is this right here. These are the upcoming events. So what that means is when I'm holding office hours, again, this is also going to change because of the schedule change, but these are the times when I will be holding office hours throughout the weeks instead of tutorial lab classes, which I know we don't have for geometry, but this will be a time for you to ask any questions that you may have on the homework assignments or on anything you're wondering. That's a good time to pop in and ask. Office hours will be held by me, Ms. Dushar, Ms. Varney, and Ms. James. So if you have any questions to any of us, go ahead and join in on those office hours. Just check here for the next ones, for the dates. That's pretty much all you need to know right now for the Schoology page. So now for geometry, we're always going to have a lesson. So again, I'm trying to make sure that we keep it as close to possible as to a regular class. So like usual, we have our PowerPoint. So for today, the point is that you learn how to use Schoology. So hopefully you know where to find your do nows, your lessons, your exit tickets, and your homework. And then the next step, it would be to label triangles. The next thing we're going to talk about is labeling triangles to prepare for SOHCAHTOA. This is something that we did right before break. So hopefully you're kind of familiar with it, but if you're not, this is where we're going to cover it. So for today, I know we have about a little bit over 15 minutes. This will be a pretty quick lesson, and then hopefully if you have any questions, we can figure out how to communicate, how we can communicate better. I gave you a quick Schoology tutorial. We reviewed where to find updates, where to find materials, and where to find the office hours. And now we're going to review labeling a right triangle. During these presentations, idea for you to have some notes in front of you, a notebook maybe, so you can take these notes. That way you can have them to work on your do nows and exit tickets. But if you don't happen to have a sheet of paper or you don't have one right now, then this will also be posted on Schoology later on for you to be able to rewatch this. So the first thing we're going to talk about is labeling a right triangle. So this is a right triangle. The reason, or the way that we know that this is a right triangle is that we see this angle right here. Let me see if I can use, yes, this angle right here. this shows that the angle is a right triangle. What this box means is that this is a 90-degree angle. Any corner, if you look around your room, any corner around your room is 90 degrees. It's a perfect corner. Every right angle has one 90-degree angle. These angles are 45 degrees. And then we have 3 sides because, again, a triangle has 3 sides. And then we're going to go ahead and label each side. So the hypotenuse, which we're going to label as HYP, is the angle that's right across the right angle. Always for the hypotenuse, make sure to look at the right angle and look for the side that's right across from it. Hypotenuse. Our next one will be, we identify an angle, so we're going to focus on this angle that they labeled right here. And we're going to find the adjacent side. Adjacent means same side, or the side that's touching it. So we already labeled this one, so we know it's not that. But this is another side that's touching this angle. And that one is called the adjacent side. The next one we're looking at is the opposite. So looking again at that specific angle that we're focusing on, we look across from it. And that gives us our opposite angle. Anytime that our angle changes, our sides change as well. And let me show you what I mean by that. And now we're focused on this angle. If the hypotenuse stays the same because that's still across. But if we look at this angle, we look at what is touching that angle. That would be your new adjacent. We look at what's directly across from that, and that becomes your. I know that might be a little bit confusing right now, but we'll go ahead and continue labeling them in practice in case this doesn't make too much sense. Okay, so when do we use SOHCAHTOA? So anytime we want to use SOHCAHTOA, it's because we have a right angle. So a right angle means we have one of these, and there are 2 sides and 1 angle. So meaning 2 things are given and 1 is missing. And that's something we'll cover as we go on a little bit more. Right now, our main focus is labeling the triangle. So first we must decide which side is a hypotenuse. So again, how do we find the hypotenuse? We look at what is directly across the right angle. Because this side is directly across the right angle, that is our hypotenuse. So we did this step. Now we check where the involved angle is to identify the opposite and adjacent sides in relation to that. So I want to focus on this angle. So I see what side have I not labeled, but it's touching this angle. So the 2 sides that are touching this angle are this side, but we already labeled it, and this side. So we know that that is our adjacent side. And then our next one is what's directly across, and that would be the opposite angle. And that's a bit confusing. Hopefully it's starting to clear up a little bit, but we'll continue and practice a little bit longer. When we're looking at this angle, right away I notice that this angle is green, meaning this is the angle that they want me to focus on. Okay? So either way, and this one is yellow, that's our right angle. Right away I think about, well, first, what is directly across the right angle? That will be my hypotenuse. Then looking at this angle, which of these 2 sides that are touching it is not labeled? It's this one, so that is my adjacent. And then which side is directly across the angle? And that would be the opposite side. So now let's go ahead and practice labeling these triangles. So right away it asked me, what is the hypotenuse of number 1? So I look across that, I look at the right angle and I look directly across. So this side is my hypotenuse. I'm not sure if you remember from something we covered early in the semester, but we would label that RQ. Which side is adjacent? And again, we focus on the angle they give us. So what is adjacent? Meaning what's the side that's touching it that hasn't been labeled yet? And that's this side. That is PQ. And last but not least, which side is opposite of the angle? And that's side RP. If we look at our second triangle, we have again, what's the hypotenuse? So anytime it says hypotenuse, right away I look at my right angle and I look at what's exactly across. And that would be, it says 5.2 centimeters. For adjacent, I look at what angle are they talking about? And we already labeled this one. So which one's touching it but hasn't been labeled? It's this one, and they call that one X. And last but not least, what is opposite of the focus angle? That would be 3.4 centimeters. And then for our very last triangle, what we're going to do is go ahead and look again at the hypotenuse. So again, what is directly across? What is our focus angle? And then what is touching? What side is touching that angle that hasn't been labeled yet? And it's this one right here. And last but not least, what is the opposite of our focus angle? Now, something I like to do is I always like to look at the hypotenuse first and then opposite, because to me, it's easy to tell which side is opposite. And then that leaves me with one side, and that's usually my adjacent side. So that's usually what I like to do. I like to find hypotenuse, opposite, and then adjacent, but either way works. Notice that here they just have the same answers, just in different order, because there's two ways to label them. It's either R, PQ or QP, RP or PR. So this is where I would have you practice. Hopefully as we start to get better with the system, and then you're hopefully able to either speak or chat. This is where you guys would help me label these sides. Right now we'll do about, because we are running out of time and I want to make sure I tell you what you're expected to do next. We'll do the first three, and then hopefully if you have some time, go ahead and practice 4, 5, 6, and 7 on your own. So right away, I look at the right angle, what's directly across, and I know that's my hypotenuse. As I said, I like to do opposites first. So I look at the focus angle and I look what's across from it. That's my opposite. So what do I have left that I still need to label? And that's adjacent angle. Let's do number 2 again. So what's directly across from my right angle? That's called my hypotenuse. What's directly across my focus angle? And that is opposite. And then what hasn't been labeled yet? That's adjacent. And notice that adjacent side always touches the angle, the focus angle. And number 3, what is directly across from that right angle? That's the hypotenuse. What's directly across the focus angle? It's opposite. What has not been labeled yet? This side, so that's adjacent. And again, make sure that it is touching the focus angle, and it is. I think we have time for about maybe 2 more. So again, first thing, directly across the right angle, That's my hypotenuse. What's directly across the focus angle? That's opposite. And what's touching it but hasn't been labeled yet? Adjacent. Now go ahead and try to do this one on your own. I'll give you maybe about 30 seconds to try to do number 5, and then I'll go ahead and tell you what the answer is, and you can check your work. Great, so let's look at number 5. So again, what is directly across the right angle? That is the hypotenuse. What's directly across the focus angle? Oops. Directly across. Okay. Well, okay, I should have now that should be a little bit better. But if you look at what's directly across, and that would be the hypotenuse, what's directly across the focus angle, that's your opposite angle, and then what is missing and touching your focus angle, that is the adjacent side. So I know that this might still be a little bit confusing, but hopefully, as long as you focus on looking at the right angle, seeing what's directly across, that's your hypotenuse. Looking at what's directly across from your focus angle, that's your opposite. And then that side that you haven't labeled yet, that would be your adjacent side. So what are your next steps? Your next steps are, after this, go back to that folder that I showed you on Schoology. Go ahead, complete your due now for March 30th. Complete the exit ticket. And then before the next class, so before class on, again, the schedule is going to change a little bit, so that date will actually be before class on Thursday. Make sure to complete the due now. That way we can see if you know some of the stuff that we covered today, or if we should continue working on it. That just helps me know what we need to work on a little bit more. Okay? So if you have any questions, feel free to message me, feel free to post it on Schoology, and then I will also be holding office hours for you to ask any questions that you may have. Again, you can find that all on Schoology.
Are you going to have office hours today or just tomorrow?
Just, so for this week, I think it'll be a little bit different. I need to definitely check what the schedule is, because based on those changes, we're supposed to be holding office hours on, let me double check, on Wednesday and Friday from 2 to 3.
Okay.
Wednesday, I have a teacher training, so Wednesdays will probably be canceled, and we'll probably, actually, we will definitely have them on Friday. So
okay.
Friday will be the next office hours from 2 to 3.
Okay, I'll just check on Schoology for the new schedule then.
Okay, thank you.
All right. You good, Ajan?